I had gotten to the funeral home with his body something in the neighborhood of 11 o'clock at night, and it is a several-hour procedure to prepare the remains. And after this time, someplace in the early morning, agents came. Now, I say agents because I'm not familiar at the moment with whether they were Secret Service or FBI or what they were, but agents did come, and when they did come, they fingerprinted. And the only reason that we knew they did, they were carrying a satchel and the equipment and asked us if they might have the preparation room to themselves. And after it was all over, we found ink on Lee Harvey's hands showing that they had fingerprinted him and palm printed him. We had to take that ink back off in order to prepare him for burial and to eliminate that ink. When we removed the casket from the little chapel, there wasn't any way that the help and I could handle it. Since there were only two of us, we decided the best thing to do. I solicited the newsmen that were there, and I asked them, would you mind helping me? And they volunteered and came over and carried the remains, the casket, to the coach, and then from the coach to the tent after I drove over to the gravesite. There were enough policemen there, one behind every tombstone, because they just didn't know what was going to be the next thing to happen. When the minister was through with a few brief words, the family then was given the privilege of, as in the business we call it the last leave, they had the opportunity to look at the body of Lee Harvey for a brief moment. And Marina, the wife, got up and patted his body and caressed him. Then she reached down and took a ring off of her finger, and actually it was two rings, and tried to place it on Lee Harvey's fingers, because this was the ring that was their wedding band, and I helped her because she was shaking and very nervous. Marina took a handful of dirt and made the sign of a cross on that grave, and then the family departed and went back to protective custody. 3 weeks after I buried Lee Harvey Oswald, the Secret Service came to me and they said, Paul, did you see any scars, such as the scars on his wrists, where he was supposed to have tried to commit suicide in Russia? And I said, of course, I wasn't looking for the likes of this, and really in my own mind did not feel as though I remembered much about this, but didn't remember seeing any marks of that kind. And the Secret Service agent told me at that time, well, Paul, we just don't know who we have out there in that grave.
That mystery did not end with Oswald's burial. Lingering doubts about the identity of the person buried at Rose Hill Cemetery, Fort Worth, prompted Oswald's widow, Marina, to have his body exhumed in 1981.
Being of Russian background and not truly trusting the American, she often wondered if his body was really there. So when it came the opportunity to possibly bring his body to the surface, she was most interested to know, is his body really there? Had somebody taken his body from the grave after the burial had been made? Well, that was her motive, partly. And then, too, I think she was interested to make sure that this was really Lee Harvey Oswald that was still there in that grave. At the time of the 63 of the burial time, I put Lee Harvey Oswald in a steel-reinforced concrete vault. That vault was hermetically sealed. The vault is guaranteed not to break, crack, or go to pieces. It's heavy concrete with steel in it, with an asphalt lining. And when I opened the grave in '81 and found that that vault had been broken, and the bottom of the vault was the part that was broken, the top was still intact, I noticed at that time that the casket had been disturbed. I questioned in my own mind what had been going on. When I opened that casket the first time, I sent my wife, Virginia, to Marina to tell her, yes, there is a body in that grave, because that was her concern. And then we did go to Baylor. There was an examination by a medical person who was a forensic pathologist. And she determined that, yes, these were the teeth of Lee Harvey Oswald, but it took 2 years for her to make that determination before the report was actually done.
The findings of the team are as follows. We independently and as a team have concluded beyond any doubt, and I mean beyond any doubt, that the individual buried under the name of Lee Harvey Oswald in Rose Hill Cemetery is, in fact, Lee Harvey Oswald. At this point in time, we hope that this puts the matter to rest without any further speculation being raised as to the identity of the individual at Rose Hill.
Oswald's dental record was used to confirm the identity of the exhumed body. But once again, the official version does not tell the whole story. Paul Groody, an experienced mortician, made one vital observation that confounds their findings. He speaks about it here for the first time.
Of course, I was the one that had to handle the body in the morgue at Baylor. And as we removed the body from the casket, or at least worked with the body, I could recognize that this clothing was the clothing that I had put on that body. And yet, when I saw the head of this body, and it was removed from the casket and removed from the body in order that they might x-ray it and take pictures, I could see that there was no autopsy on that head. When an autopsy is done and the skull is cut in order to remove the cap, in order to remove the brain, there is a distinctive line of where all the fissures and all of the skull has been parted. Now, it's going to cause a bit of a mark. No matter what you try and do, it's going to show. And knowing that I handled the body originally, and there was an autopsy on that head, and now to see that there was no autopsy on the head, made it in my mind pretty clear that something had transpired that had caused this. And I feel as though someone had gone to the cemetery, off hours, had taken the head of Lee Harvey Oswald that now was dead. How he got that way, I don't know, but at least it was the head, and had brought the vault to the surface as best they could, being a heavy item as it is, a tripod, lifting that body, lifting the body and the vault out of the grave. In the process, the bottom of the vault fell, breaking the vault, causing the casket to deteriorate to a degree. Then, of course, removed the head of the one that was there that had been autopsied and put this head in its place so that we would find the teeth of Lee Harvey Oswald. That's my theory. This is what I think happened. Whoever caused that was the same faction that caused the assassination in the first place, but in my mind, a cover-up had taken place.